Hi, my name is Melanie Marshall. In this presentation today, we're going to be focusing on stress. We're going to be looking at some different definitions surrounding stress, the short and long-term effects of stress, why it's important to manage stress, and some ways to do that. And I'm also going to be sharing some of my personal experiences of dealing with stress. So first and foremost, what exactly is stress? So stress is a physical response to a stimulus such as fear or pain. It could also be a mental strain or tension. Now there are three stages of stress. There's alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. So the alarm stage is what happens immediately when you're experiencing that stressful situation. This can also be known as a fight or flight response. So in this response, or in this stage, you're going to start feeling your heart beating faster, your blood pressure may rise. So an example of this stage is, say you're driving your car and the car in front of you immediately stops and you have to slam on your brakes. Right there, you're going to be in that alarm stage. Now, immediately following the alarm stage is the resistance stage. So this is where the body begins to repair itself. So just as we spoke about your heart beating fast, your blood pressure on the rise, resistance stage is going to start to reverse all that. So your heart's going to slow down, your blood pressure is going to lower. Some symptoms you may feel in this stage is irritability, frustration, and poor concentration. Now, the last stage is exhaustion. So this stage happens after prolonged periods of stress. So dealing with stress for a long time can be draining to you physically, emotionally, and mentally. So in this stage, you may feel like you are ready to give up or a really strong sense of hopelessness. So some things you may feel in this stage, some symptoms are depression, anxiety, fatigue, or you may even feel burned out. Now, we're also going to look at some different responses to stress. So you have the fight or flight response or the tend and befriend response. So the fight or flight response, as we mentioned with the alarm stage, is one of the responses you have immediately following a stressful situation. So in this response, your body is either preparing to go into fight mode or fleeing from that stressful situation. The other response is a tend and befriend response. So this is where you may see someone else in a stressful situation and you go to tend to that person. Or the befriend part of it is if you're in a stressful situation, you seek out other people for mutual defense against whatever that stressful situation is. Now, it's typically said that the fight or flight response is a more male-driven response, and females tend to go to the tend and befriend response. Some other definitions we're looking at today is optimism. So optimism is when you are hopeful about the future, you have confidence about the successful outcoming of something. We're also going to look at self-efficacy. So that is when you believe in your own ability to achieve whatever goal you have set for yourself. And hardiness. So that's the ability to endure a stressful situation or a difficult condition. Now, what I really want to take a look at is some of the short and long-term effects of stress. So some of the short-term effects can be muscle pain, tension, you feel headaches, you may feel chest pain. As we spoke about in the alarm stage, you're going to feel your heart racing, your blood pressure rise, fatigue, you may have an upset stomach, shortness of breath, or even sweating. Now, some of the long-term effects, which tend to be a little more serious, are depression, heart disease, you can even have reproductive issues, digestive problems, you could have trouble sleeping, and increased anxiety. So why exactly is it important to manage stress? So just as we spoke about the short and long-term effects, none of those effects are any good to our well-being. So reducing stress, it's just important to maintain that happy and healthy lifestyle. So some of the short-term effects, something as just being tired, to a long-term effects as something as serious heart disease is what we really want to combat when managing stress to prevent any detrimental things to our health. So, of course, we know why it's important to manage stress. So, what are some ways to manage or help deal with that stress? Regular physical activity is a great way to help manage stress. Different relaxation techniques. So, even just taking a couple deep breaths, you may like yoga or meditation. anything to get you in that right headspace and get you away from feeling all that stress. A lot of times it's even good to keep a sense of humor about the situation and laugh. Socializing with friends and family. So that even falls into the tend and befriend response as we spoke about earlier. So surrounding yourself with those people that help you defend that stressful situation. And of course, it's so important to get plenty of sleep, eat healthy, avoid tobacco and caffeine use. Those are all great things to help avoid that stress or lower any stress you may be feeling. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is some of my own personal experiences and some good and bad ways that I handled stress and how that outcome was for me. So one situation I am currently in right now, of course, is school. And as everyone knows, school is such a stressful situation for anyone. You're trying to make deadlines, you're trying to learn new information, write reports. So for my school, what I tend to go to is the tend and befriend response. So luckily for me, my coworkers are in the same college program as I am. So we kind of really go towards each other, help each other out, deal with our stress, help get whatever work done, whatever may be stressing us out about school, we work together as a team. Now, when I don't have friends around immediately to help me combat that stress, I really go to my relaxation techniques. So sometimes just taking a few deep breaths. Sometimes I need to walk away from the computer and just have a moment and regroup myself. And in that moment, it's a great way to stop that stress from becoming so high I can't manage it. Now, something that I still struggle with dealing with my stress about is flying. So flying can be a stressful situation for a lot of people. And for me, unfortunately, I don't always respond in the best way. So when I fly, I tend to go in the fight or flight response. Well, I'm in an airplane. There's nowhere I can really run from my stress. So I tend to fight it. I fight the stress I'm feeling. So for me, what that looks like, I tend to shut down. I get very irritable. My anxiety increases. My blood pressure rises. My heart beats. And I can barely deal with it. Whoever I may be with, isn't dealing with it well either because I'm so stressed. I'm taking it out on them. And that's why flying's so hard for me, because I let that stress overcome me instead of, maybe doing a relaxation technique or whoever I'm with, reaching out to them to help me during that situation. So today in this presentation, we looked at different definitions of stress, different responses, some long and short-term effects, how we can help manage our stress. And I shared some of my experiences with you guys. So I hope you found this information useful and maybe learn a thing or two you didn't know, and you now have ways to help combat your stress in the future.